People say one quiet moment can change everything. For her, it happened the night she agreed to meet him alone, without knowing what was truly waiting for her. Lena had always been careful about the people she let close, but Ethan was different. She didn't know how or when it happened, but something about him made her heart soften a little more than it should. He wasn't flashy or loud, he didn't charm with rehearsed lines or clever tricks. He just showed up with this steady, warm presence that felt safe. Still, when he asked to meet her privately, she hesitated. Not because she was afraid of him, but because she was afraid of what she might feel. She stood near the old wooden bridge, the one overlooking the slow river that cut behind their town. The air felt crisp, almost expectant. Small waves shimmered beneath the moonlight, the sound soft enough to feel like a whisper. That was where he told her to meet him, just the two of them, just for a conversation, he had said. But Lena's mind spun a little too fast for that to feel simple. She checked the time on her phone again. Still early. She wrapped her arms around herself as a cool breeze brushed her hair back. It was the kind of evening where everything felt just slightly more dramatic than usual. Maybe that's why her heart wouldn't settle. She replayed their last conversation in her head. Ethan had looked unusually serious. Not sad, not upset, just focused. He had chosen his words carefully, asking if they could talk somewhere private, somewhere he wouldn't be interrupted. It wasn't his request that worried her. It was the way he said her name. Soft, thoughtful, almost protective. She told herself she wasn't going to overthink it, but she was absolutely overthinking it. Suddenly, footsteps approached from behind her. Steady, unhurried, familiar. She turned. Ethan stood a few steps away, hands tucked into his jacket pockets, his expression warm but unreadable. The dim bridge lights outlined his features, making him look both calm and strangely nervous. "Hey," he said gently. "Hey," she answered, her voice a little too soft. He walked closer, not too fast, not too slow, just enough to let her know he was there, and that he wasn't here to rush anything. "I'm glad you came," he said. She smiled, small but real. "You sounded like it mattered." "It does," he replied. The river moved quietly beneath them, as if reminding them they were standing in a place meant for honest conversations and quiet truths. For a moment, neither spoke, not because the silence was awkward, but because it felt strangely meaningful. Ethan finally leaned his elbows on the wooden railing. "I wanted to talk to you without any distractions," he said slowly. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I've been thinking about for a while." Her heart tightened at those words. Not painfully, just enough to make her breath catch. She steadied her voice. "Ethan, you're starting to make me nervous." He chuckled softly. "Sorry, that's not my intention." "Then what is?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. He looked out at the water, like he was trying to find the right beginning, like he didn't want to say the wrong thing. When he finally turned toward her, his eyes held something gentle and sincere, something she wasn't sure she was ready for. But before he could speak, a sudden gust of wind swept across the bridge, carrying a few fallen leaves with it. The sound pulled both of them back into the moment. He stepped just slightly closer. "Lena," he said quietly, "there's something important I need you to know about me, about why I really wanted to see you tonight." Her pulse quickened. His voice softened even more. "And I promise, it's not what you think." Lena's breath froze. What did that mean? Not what she thought? Then what was it? For the first time all evening, she realized she had absolutely no idea what he was about to say, and that scared her more than anything else. But in a strange, unexpected way, it also made her want to know. Ethan took a slow breath, as if preparing himself. And just as he parted his lips to speak, Lena's phone buzzed in her pocket with a message that made her stomach drop. She glanced at the screen, and her eyes widened in shock. The message changed everything. Lena never expected a single message to shake her this deeply, especially right when Ethan was finally about to open up. Her phone screen glowed in the dim bridge light. The message was short, but it sent a sharp wave of confusion through her chest. "Where are you? I need to talk to you. It's urgent." It was from her cousin, Mia. Mia never used the word urgent, not unless something was truly wrong. Lena swallowed hard, trying to steady her breathing, but Ethan saw the way her hand trembled. "Everything okay?" he asked softly. She forced herself to breathe slowly. I don't know. Mia just texted me. She wants to talk right now." Ethan's brows pulled together with quiet concern. "That doesn't sound like her." "It doesn't," Lena whispered. The calm evening suddenly felt heavier. Not dangerous, just emotionally dense, like all her worries had decided to show up at once. Ethan stepped a little closer, not touching her, but offering warmth just with his presence. "You can call her if you want," he said gently. "I'll wait." She appreciated that more than she could say. But Lena shook her head. "No, if it was something terrible, she would have called instead of texting. She paused, trying to find the right words. "I don't want whatever this is to interrupt what you were going to say." Ethan's expression softened. He looked almost surprised by her words, and touched. "It can wait," he said quietly. "You matter more than a perfectly timed conversation." She felt something warm bloom in her chest. It made her heart flutter in slow, careful waves. But she wasn't ready to let the moment go just yet. "Ethan," she murmured, "you said your intention wasn't what I thought. What did you mean?" He took a slow breath, steady and thoughtful, like he was trying to gather courage without showing it too obviously. "Lena," he said, "I asked you to meet me privately because I didn't want this conversation to get lost in a crowded place. I needed the quiet. I needed the space. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's personal." Her pulse quickened again. Personal. That word alone could mean so many things. She leaned slightly closer, barely noticing she did. Ethan continued, his voice lower now, gentler. "I know things between us have been different lately, and I'm not the only one who feels it. You do too, don't you?" Lena felt her breath catch, because he was right. She did feel it. Every shared glance, every quiet moment, every time he remembered the small details she never expected anyone to notice. "Yes," she whispered, "I feel it." A soft, heartfelt smile appeared on his face. It wasn't confident, it wasn't bold, it was tender, a kind of smile that said he had been hoping she'd say that. "That's why I'm here," he said. "That's why I needed tonight." The air around them seemed to shift, warming the cool breeze. Even the river sounded quieter, as if waiting. But then Ethan's expression changed. Not colder, just more serious. "Before I say anything more," he added, "I need to be honest with you about something from my past, something you don't know yet." Lena blinked, surprised. "Your past?" He nodded slowly. "And it's important, because if you're going to understand how I feel about you, you need to understand what I've been carrying." Her heart tightened in worry. Was it something dangerous? Something painful? Something that would change how she saw him? Before she could ask, Ethan stepped closer, this time close enough that she could feel the warmth of his presence. "I'm not here to scare you," he said softly. "I'm here because you deserve the truth, and because I want you to know why meeting you changed more for me than you realize." Lena's breath came unsteady now. Her emotions felt tangled, hopeful, nervous, curious, scared, all at once. "What truth?" she whispered. Ethan opened his mouth to answer. But before a single word could escape, Lena's phone buzzed again, this time with a second message. She glanced down. This one wasn't from Mia. It was from an unknown number, and the message made her entire body go still. Ask him about the promise he made last year. The world around her froze. A promise? Last year? And from an unknown sender? Lena slowly raised her eyes to Ethan, her voice barely a breath. "Ethan, what promise?" His expression faltered, just for a second. But it was enough to send a quiet shiver down her spine. The moment Ethan's expression shifted, Lena knew. This wasn't a random message. Someone out there knew something she didn't. The wind moved across the bridge again, carrying a cold edge that hadn't been there before. Lena couldn't look away from Ethan, not after seeing the way his eyes darkened, not with anger, not with guilt, but with something much more complicated. "Lena," he said softly, "I can explain." She tightened her fingers around the railing. "I'm listening." He took a slow breath. Not defensive, not confrontational, just steady, the way he always tried to be with her. "The message you got," he said carefully, "it's not what it sounds like." "That depends," she replied gently, "on what it is." A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, sad but grateful. He appreciated that she wasn't accusing him. She simply wanted the truth, and he owed her that. Ethan stepped back just enough to lean on the railing beside her. He looked out at the river first, as if gathering courage from the quiet movement of the water. "That promise," he began, "was something I made before I knew you, before anything in my life felt clear." Lena didn't interrupt. Even though her heart was racing, she kept her voice calm. "What promise was it?" He hesitated. Not because he wanted to hide anything, but because the truth clearly carried weight. "I promised someone I would help them," he said slowly. "Just help. Nothing more. But it got complicated in ways I didn't expect." "Who?" Lena asked gently. Ethan looked down, almost ashamed. "My childhood friend. Her name is Arya." Lena felt her stomach twist, not out of jealousy, but from the sudden confusion swirling inside her. Arya. He had never mentioned her before. "She went through something difficult last year," Ethan continued. "Her family left town, she didn't have anyone else she trusted, and she asked me to stay by her side as she rebuilt her life." Lena listened closely, trying to understand all the pieces without jumping to conclusions. "So," she said, "you promised to help her?" "Yes," he said softly, "but she wanted it to be something more. She asked if, someday, I could try to build a future with her." Lena froze. A future? Even the word felt heavy. "And you said yes?" she whispered. "No," he replied instantly, eyes lifting to hers with firm sincerity. "I told her I couldn't promise anything romantic. I made that clear from the beginning. But I did promise I wouldn't abandon her while she was struggling. I promised I'd stay as her friend until she found her footing again." Lena slowly exhaled. Relief mixed with confusion, leaving a strange ache in her chest. "So where does that leave you now?" she asked. Ethan looked at her directly this time. "With you," he said softly. "That's what I wanted to talk about tonight." Her breath caught. But then another question rose in her mind, one too important to ignore. "Then who sent that message?" she asked. "How would anyone know about last year?" Ethan's jaw tensed slightly. "I think I know," he murmured. "Arya has a cousin who always thought I wasn't good enough for her. He believed I should have made that promise into something more. He never liked that I refused. Lena's heartbeat thudded harder. And you think he's the one texting me? It's possible, Ethan admitted. He's protective, sometimes too protective. If he found out I've been spending time with someone else, he might think he's warning you. Lena lowered her gaze, overwhelmed by everything hitting her at once. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? She whispered. Ethan moved closer, not too close, but enough that she felt the sincerity in his voice. Because I didn't want you to think I was torn between someone else and you, he said. Because I'm not. Her breath wavered. She wasn't sure whether her heart hurt or softened. And Arya? She asked quietly. Does she know about us? Ethan shook his head. There isn't an us yet, he said gently. But I want there to be. And yes, she knows I've met someone who means something to me. She just doesn't know anything more than that. Lena's heartbeat stumbled. He had already thought about her that way. He had told someone else she mattered. But one thing still lingered in her mind. Ethan, she whispered, if helping Arya was that important, why tonight? Why ask to meet privately now? He looked at her with a depth that made her chest tighten. Because she doesn't need me the way she used to, he said. And because I don't want the promise I made last year to hold me back from the future I want now. Her breath shook. And what future is that? She asked. Ethan stepped closer, slow, deliberate, sincere. One that includes you, he said softly, if you'll let it. Lena felt something warm spread through her chest, hopeful, fragile, beautiful. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. This time, a third message appeared. He's not telling you everything. The words hit her like cold water. Her hand trembled. Ethan saw the change in her expression immediately. What does it say? He asked, voice careful. Lena looked up at him, her eyes filled with quiet worry. Ethan, what else is there? His expression changed, not guilty, but deeply troubled. This time, he didn't try to speak right away. He just lowered his gaze, as if the truth he was holding might break something he desperately wanted to protect. Lena didn't know what scared her more, the message on her phone or the way Ethan suddenly couldn't meet her eyes. The river below them kept moving, soft and steady, as if nothing in the world had changed. But everything inside Lena felt different now, tight, uncertain, trembling in a way she couldn't hide. Ethan, she said quietly, please look at me. He lifted his eyes slowly. There was no anger, no defensiveness, just a deep, exhausted kind of honesty, the kind that comes from carrying something for too long. There is more, he admitted, and I should have told you sooner. Her fingers tightened around her phone. Then tell me now. Ethan nodded, almost to himself, like he was finally accepting that the truth couldn't wait any longer. It's about Arya, he said, but not in the way you might think. Lena swallowed hard. She wasn't ready for another twist, but she stayed steady. I'm listening, she whispered. Ethan leaned his forearms on the railing again, his gaze drifting to the water as if the river helped him speak. Last year, he began, Arya wasn't just struggling, she was scared. Her parents had left town suddenly, and she was dealing with a situation she didn't want anyone to know about. Lena felt her breath catch. What kind of situation? A personal one, Ethan said gently. Something emotional, something she wasn't ready to speak about, and she asked me to be the one person she could rely on until she felt safe again. He paused, choosing his words carefully. She asked me to promise I wouldn't leave her side. Lena nodded slowly. So you stayed for her? Yes, he said, but that's not the part I kept from you. A cold knot formed in her chest. Then what is it? Ethan turned toward her fully, his expression sincere and almost painfully vulnerable. "There was a moment," he said quietly, "just one moment last year, when Arya misunderstood my support as something more. She thought I wanted to be with her." Lena's breath hitched. "And did you?" she asked gently. "No," he said firmly. "I cared about her. I wanted her to heal, but I didn't feel anything romantic. I tried to make that clear, but she didn't take it well." A soft ache settled in Lena's stomach. "Ethan, what happened?" He exhaled slowly, the memory clearly heavy. "She became distant, upset, and her cousin, the one who's probably texting you, blamed me. He told Arya I led her on. He accused me of making promises I didn't keep." "That's why he doesn't like you," Lena whispered. Ethan nodded. "And that's probably why he's messaging you now. He thinks he's protecting his family." "But why say you're hiding something?" she asked. "Why try to scare me?" Ethan's voice dropped, gentle but troubled. "Because he thinks I'm going to do to you what he believes I did to her." Lena's chest tightened, not from fear, but from the quiet pain of being misunderstood. She reached out slightly, not touching him, but letting her voice soften. "Ethan, have you ever had feelings for Arya at all?" He shook his head without hesitation. "No, not once." "And do you have feelings for me?" This time, he didn't look away. His eyes held hers with a warmth she felt all the way through her chest. "Yes," he whispered. "I do." Her breath trembled. But before she could speak, another message appeared on her phone, and this one hit differently. "You don't know the full story. Ask him what happened the night he broke the promise." Lena felt her heart drop. Her fingers tightened around her phone as she slowly lifted her gaze to Ethan. "Ethan," her voice cracked softly, "what happened that night?" For the first time since their conversation began, Ethan stepped back. Not in fear, not in guilt, but in something that looked like deep emotional conflict. "Lena," he said, voice thick, "that night, I didn't break the promise the way he thinks." "Then what happened?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan stared at the ground for a long moment. When he finally looked up, there was something raw, something heartfelt in his eyes, something he hadn't shown until now. "I kept the promise," he said quietly, "but it changed everything, and it's the one thing I was afraid to tell you." Lena's heart pounded, torn between fear and hope. "Ethan, please, tell me." He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, someone called Lena's name from the other end of the bridge. A familiar voice. A voice she never expected to hear tonight. She froze. Ethan stiffened beside her. The footsteps grew closer, and the silhouette stepped into the faint bridge lights. Lena's eyes widened in shock. It was Arya. When Lena saw Arya walking toward them, her heart dropped. This was the moment she had been afraid of, without even knowing it. Arya stopped a few steps away, her eyes moving from Lena to Ethan and back again. She looked tired, not angry, not dramatic, just worn, as if she'd been carrying something heavy for far too long. "Lena," Arya said softly, "I'm sorry for showing up like this, but I needed to talk to both of you." Lena swallowed hard. Nothing about this moment felt simple. Ethan took a careful breath. "Arya, I didn't expect you." "I know," Arya interrupted gently, "but I got a call from my cousin. He said he messaged her, and I needed to fix this before it got worse." She turned her attention fully to Lena. "I'm really sorry if he scared you," she said. "He thinks he's protecting me, even when he's completely wrong." Lena tried to steady herself. "It's okay. I just want the truth." Arya nodded slowly, her expression softening with understanding. "You deserve that," she said. "Both of you do." Ethan stepped forward slightly, concern in his eyes. "Arya, she asked about the night I broke the promise. You know what he told her." Arya sighed, a small, exhausted sound. "I wish he hadn't brought that up. He never understood what actually happened." She looked at Lena again, her voice quiet, almost apologetic. "Lena, Ethan didn't break anything." Lena blinked. "What do you mean?" Arya took a shaky breath, as if revisiting a memory that still carried weight. "That night," she said, "I had one of the hardest moments of my life. I felt completely alone. My parents were gone, my plans had fallen apart, and I didn't know who I was anymore." She paused, her eyes softening with gratitude. "And Ethan was the only person who showed up. He stayed. He sat with me for hours. He didn't leave, even when I tried to push everyone away." Lena's throat tightened. Arya continued, "My cousin thought Ethan was supposed to confess something romantic to me. He thought that was part of the promise. But it wasn't. That was never what Ethan promised." She looked at Ethan with a sad smile. "He promised to be there as a friend, and he kept that better than anyone else in my life ever has." Ethan lowered his eyes, quietly emotional. Arya then turned to Lena again. "The truth is, after that night, I realized something." Her voice trembled, just a little. "I realized Ethan didn't love me the way I hoped, but I also realized I couldn't keep holding him in the place I wanted him to be." Lena listened closely. Every word felt gentle, honest, human. "I was hurt," I admitted. "I won't lie about that. But that was my pain to deal with, not his fault, and definitely not his burden." She offered a small, sincere smile. "When he told me recently that he had feelings for someone, I was relieved, because it meant he was finally moving forward, and so was I." Lena's breath shook. "He told you about me?" she asked softly. Arya nodded. "He didn't use your name," she said, "but I could tell how much you mattered to him." Ethan's eyes lifted toward Lena, his voice calm and steady. "I didn't want to hide anything from you," he said quietly. "I just didn't want my past to scare you away." Lena's chest felt warm and achy all at once. Arya stepped back, giving them space. "Whatever my cousin wrote to you," she said gently, "ignore it. He was wrong. Ethan isn't keeping secrets to protect himself. He's only been trying to protect me, and maybe trying too hard not to complicate things with you." A long, quiet moment settled between them. Lena finally turned to Ethan. "You should have told me," she whispered. "Not because I would have run away, but because I would have understood." Ethan exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and regret. "You're right," he said, "and I'm sorry." Another breath passed. Soft, honest, open. Lena stepped closer. "So, what now?" she asked gently. Ethan looked at her with a tenderness that made her heart soften completely. "Now," he said, "I tell you what I was trying to say before the messages started." Lena felt her pulse flutter. Ethan took her hands, carefully, respectfully, as if asking permission with his touch. "I wanted to meet you privately tonight," he said, "because I wanted to tell you how deeply I care about you, how much you've changed my days, how much lighter everything feels when you're around." Her breath trembled. "I didn't want confusion or shadows from the past. I just wanted honesty between us." Lena's eyes warmed. "And I wanted tonight," he continued softly, "to be the first step towards something real, if you'll have it." For the first time all evening, Lena felt everything inside her settle, not with certainty, but with clarity. She squeezed his hands gently. "I'll have it," she whispered. Ethan's smile was soft, emotional, and full of relief. Arya quietly stepped back toward the shadows of the bridge. Before leaving, she offered Lena a small, genuine smile. "Take care of him," she said warmly. "He's a good one." Lena nodded. "And I hope you find someone who sees your heart the way it deserves." Arya smiled, touched, and walked away. As her footsteps faded, Ethan turned fully toward Lena, the river whispering softly under the night sky. "Thank you," he murmured. "For what?" she asked. "For giving me a chance to be honest, for staying, for being here." Lena stepped closer, her voice gentle. "I'm not going anywhere." The night settled around them, quiet, hopeful, tender, as if the world had finally allowed their hearts the peace they'd been searching for.